What's up? It's your boy Mark. Have you ever had one of those moments where, all right, that's it, we need to talk? So, you ever had one of those moments where someone checks you because you're just kind of out of line, kind of out of the box too much? Well, that's something you might have to consider when it comes to the direction that you're taking in your life if you're fucking up, so to speak. And the reason why I say this is because when I separated out of the Air Force so many years ago, I had a lot of baggage and there were a lot of issues around my getting out that would have led me to believe that I wasn't necessarily in the wrong and that everything I was doing was right. And so my perspective on reality was correct and that my approach in life was appropriate to get me to whatever stages I needed to pass through. But the thing is, and we're going to talk about accountability here because that's ultimately what this whole conversation is. Unless you have people checking you and making sure that you're on the appropriately right track, you're probably going to stay on the wrong track and go down the wrong path for quite a while. I say this as somebody who's kind of stumbled around and tried to figure it out on my own. And it wasn't until I decided I was going to trust in certain processes and in certain people that I finally got a handle on things as far as life went. Now, I'm not saying I have it all figured out. If anyone ever tells you that they have it all figured out, they're probably lying, and you should probably run away in the opposite direction as fast as you possibly can, because they're probably trying to take your money or they're trying to take advantage of you in some way. And that's going to put you in a further disadvantage than what you already are at the moment. Anyway, so in understanding that I needed someone to hold me accountable, or I needed accountability in my life, I had to accept, first of all, that I needed to let my ego go, push it aside, and get over myself. And the reason why this is because our egos, like I mentioned earlier, are designed to actually help us get to a certain point in our lives. And they will. They'll get you to a certain stage in life, and your ego will start to develop around the things that you've accomplished so that you feel proud about what it is that you've done, so that you can find some pride in the efforts that you put forth, and so you have skin in the game and are invested in those efforts and the things that you've created. Of course, you're going to need to develop an ego around those things. It's not a bad thing. Where it's bad is when you don't recognize that the path that you've gone down is actually inappropriate. And that's when you have to step back and reconsider the path that you've gone down. And you have to have people outside of yourself or other processes, other systems to turn the lens on yourself and reconsider what it is that you're doing. So first of all, you have to cast aside your ego. The next part is you actually have to go around looking for a path. You have to actually find a direction that you want to go before you can even find the appropriate kind of accountability. Because if you just go in every direction, like here's the deal. You can follow Goggins, you can follow Willink, you can follow whoever it is that you want to follow. But if that path is not in alignment with your skills, your own desires, your own drive and motivation, you're probably not going to go down that path, regardless of someone as motivating as Willink or Haynes or Goggins yelling in your face and telling you what you ought to be doing. You're probably not going to go down that path just because it's not in alignment with what you're striving for. So before you can even choose a path, or before you can even choose someone or something to hold you accountable, you need to pick a path. Because in finding that path and realizing the direction you want to go down, then you'll understand what it is you need to get in alignment, what you need to sort out. And that is when you can start, that's when you can go ahead and create systems of accountability for yourself. Now, before you get to that, I'm not saying that the path that you choose isn't necessarily going to be flexible. It's not to say that you'll go down a particular path, it suits your taste, it suits your skills, it suits everything within you, but then you might have to pivot and change course for whatever reason. If you choose the path to, say, become the next, track star, and you happen to get an accident, and within the context of that accident, you end up losing your legs, you might have to reconsider. You might have to think, okay, well, as much as I want to race and be great at foot races, I might not be able to do it on my feet because I no longer have feet. And having someone hold me accountable in that regard is probably not going to be the best. So I need to reconsider my path. So I want to be clear. You can reconsider, you can adjust and change course along the way. You don't have to stick with a particular path. And I'll talk about that at another time. Now, once you've finally cultivated and designated a path that you want to go down, that's when you can find people that'll hold you accountable. That's when you can find systems that'll keep you on track to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And once you find those systems, you have to make sure that you actually try and abide them, or as they say, give into the process as best as you can. Because, say, to use that example once again, if you want to be a long distance runner, if you want to say, look at Cameron Hanes, or if you want to take a look at David Goggins as your example, you need to think, you know, I'm not that good at running. Maybe I need to, first of all, develop the skills to be able to do it well, and then I can have someone like Hanes or Goggins or Nick Bare tell you what you need to do and in what direction that you need to navigate towards so that you can find the appropriate path. And within that path, there are other smaller paths and winding roads that'll take you in different directions, because you may not want to be an ultra runner. You might just want to do marathons. Like I said, there's different paths along the way that you're going to have to choose and to pivot along. And so then you can find someone to hold you accountable, and you can find the systems to do it. Now, when I say systems, I mean the kind of training involved in ultra running may not be the kind of training that's involved in becoming a sprinter. And it may not be the kind of training that's involved in becoming a marathon runner. While all of those things biomechanically have the same pressures and require the same effort from you, it may not necessarily be the same in every context, because the demands of a long distance run are not the same as a sprint. The amount of muscle you might need to accumulate for being a sprinter are not going to be the same for an ultra runner. Does that make sense? And so you have to consider what it is that you're going to try to do, first of all, and then you can have the appropriate systems in place, and you can have the appropriate individuals, coaches, influencers infused into your life so that you can actually go down this path. Now, taking all of those points, first casting aside your ego, then deciding on a path, and then deciding on the people or the systems that will hold you accountable, you can take the same mindset outside of something like running and actually apply it to the broader implication of your life, or the broader application of your entire life. You can apply it to that as well. And so if finances need to get sorted out, how do you want to approach that issue? If you need to tackle housing, if you need to tackle your diet, if you need to tackle your weight, how do you address those things? Try to apply these things as best you can. Again, this is an approach that I've come to develop and discover over time. Just as I've said, it's going to probably take some retooling and adjusting for me to find more optimal ways to go about it, but I'm always constantly trying to optimize, because once you get in the habit of removing the slack out of your life, it limits or removes the opportunities for failure, or lessens the opportunity for you to falter along the way. And honestly, as you get older, you're gonna wanna be more invested in diminishing the amount of liabilities in your life and the amount of BS that you have to deal with along the way. And nobody, and I'm sure you don't, want to have to deal with more BS as time goes on. Anyways, that was a little long-winded. I try to break it up in a way that you can actually take it, consume it, and apply it and systematize it. I hope that makes sense. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, whatever, leave those in the comments. If you like this, by all means, subscribe or like on whatever platform you happen to be on. And never hesitate to reach out. Even just a conversation is enough to get thoughts running, and it might be enough to get, it's always better to have two heads than one. And so if you want to reach out to me and just chat, if you just want to kind of have someone go through and sort out the thoughts in your mind, that's great too. I can do that. I would love to do that if it means helping you along and finding your path and finding accountability and finding the appropriate systems for you and helping you discard your ego. Anyways, again, it's been Mark. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you later.